Welcome to OAA Now, your home for Oakland Activities Association news and information. Here's your host, Sammy Taormina.
Welcome to a special OAA Now football preview show. I'm Sammy Taormina, blogger of the Dragon's Den, blog of Inside the OAA, and one of the hosts between Taormina's and Orion Neighborhood Television. I'd like to welcome our friends watching on Oxford Community Television and also those watching on YouTube. We're going to preview the we're going to preview all 23 teams heading into the season. Of course, we divide up the teams in the divisions. Of course, based on the divisions, we're going to have the blue this week, the white next week, and the red the following week. It'll go along my projections and also the top 10 rankings to start the 2017 season. We're going to preview the Avondale Yellow Jackets first. Of course, the Yellow Jackets were a team last year that was in the midst of a transition. Of course, they've gone through all the coaching turmoil last season. Of course, they settled on Ed Couturier. Of course, he had 2 weeks prior to the 2016 season. Of course, they started off 0-5, but managed to win 3 of their last Final Four to finish the year at 3-6. Now, with the full season off-season under his belt, here's Avondale coach Ed Couturier at the podium at Media Day at Rochester.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Ed Couturier. I'm the head football coach at Avondale High School. On behalf of our administration staff, our coaching staff, and our players, we'd like to thank Rochester for allowing us the opportunity to come over and represent the OAA. It's a great league. We're in a very competitive division, and we look forward to the 2017 season. To my left, your right, senior co-captain, quarterback, outside linebacker, Adam Mather. Next to him, senior co-captain, Josh Mosier, offensive guard and also linebacker. Next to him, Joey Hawkins. He's a senior. He is our offensive tackle and defensive tackle. And outside, Nick Whiteside, our split end and cornerback. Last year, we were 3-6. I got the job about 2 weeks prior to the season starting, so as all of us in this room know, there's a lot more that goes into it than 2 weeks. So we were on a crash course. Probably about the mid part of the season, we kind of understood where we're going and what we're doing. And we really played well the last probably 4 or 5 weeks of the season. So we're farther ahead now that we have more than 2 weeks to prepare. So we're looking forward to a great season and very competitive and exciting season here in the OA. So good luck to everybody, and once again, thank you.
I caught up with Avondale coach Ed Couturier in an interview to talk about the Yellow Jackets and some questions heading into the season. I got Avondale coach Ed Couturier here. Couturier, yep. Okay, you took over the role last season, of course, 2 weeks in, but now you can put your full slate this season. What's your expectation this year for the Yellow Jackets?
I think we have high expectations. I think our kids are focused. You know, the same thing, instead of having just 2 weeks to prepare, we've had the entire off season. So I think as a coaching staff, the kids feel more comfortable with what we're doing and where we're going. And it took us about 4 games to kind of understand what we were doing. And so our last 4 games, you know, we actually played very well. We had 3 losses by a total of 9 points. That made a difference for us getting in the playoffs. So we're hoping that experience kind of pays off for us this year.
You look at the defense, of course. Last season you did you look at the defense last year. You allowed 192 points, but early on you had 2 heartbreaking losses. You lost to New Boston Huron and Rochester. Explain how those losses have gotten you guys motivated for this season.
Well, I think we started off in the hole. We were 0-5 the first 5 games, and you know, we opened up a New Boston, tight game, lost by 4, and then we didn't come out and play well against Troy. And then when we got to about the middle of the season, everything kind of started to click. And like anything else with young kids, you just need that first win that's going to motivate them, and I think that was the key for us, and we're hoping that carries over into this year.
You got a lot of athleticism back. Of course, you have a very good quarterback coming back. You got 2 very good players. You got David Hitton, Derek Hitton, Nick Whiteside. You know, so what's your expectation? Because I know you're a veer coach, and you know, you have a lot of athletes outside. So explain how that is going to be this year.
Well, I think the key is going to be getting the ball to the kids. Our skill kids are quick, elusive, and getting them the ball in open space and letting them kind of do their thing. But we're still going to run the option. We got kids that can play that position, and we got some quarterbacks that should be able to our play action game a little bit better, just from the experience. So that kind of opens up a lot of avenues for us if we can kind of distribute the ball in different ways, either running or throwing.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you.
Avondale's going to be an interesting team to keep an eye on this year. When you look at the Yellow Jackets, you look at, of course, they got a lot of strengths, they got a lot of weaknesses this year. But let's look at the schedule for Avondale. Of course, the Yellow Jackets will open up the year with Troy. Of course, when you look at that matchup with the Colts, Avondale lost to Troy last year, 21-0, and that's going to be a really interesting game because that game's down at Troy, and I think it's going to get the Yellow Jackets ready for that one. Then they got to play Hazel Park on September the 1st, and you know, it's not been much rivalry lately. Avondale's really been dominating the Vikings. And then, of course, I think the big game of the year, I think for them is going to be that September 8th game when they got to play Ferndale. That's going to be a tough one because last year the Eagles beat the Yellow Jackets, and that was a big win for Ferndale that got them into the playoffs. Then they got to play North Farmington September the 15th. Then they got to play Royal Oak. Then they got that game at Farmington September the 29th. It's going to be very interesting there in that matchup because the Falcons, interesting matchup for them. Of course, it's going to be very interesting what happens there. Then, of course, they have a non-league game at Ypsilanti Lincoln before closing out their league play with Pontiac. And then they have an interesting matchup with McCollum Luther North to close out the year. So it's not going to be an easy schedule for Avondale, not by a long shot. So we'll see what the Yellow Jackets have this upcoming season. Of course, a lot of expectations surrounding the Yellow Jackets, but we'll see what they have this upcoming season. Let's now look at another team. Let's look at the Farmington Falcons. Last year, this was a team that was just atrocious last year. 2-7, technically 1-8 if you don't count the Wall Lake Western forfeit. But you know, Farmington had a change in coaching with John Mattel out. You went there, Corey Soroch in the play. So here is new Farmington coach Corey Soroch on the state of the Falcons.
This one, right? All right, guys, I'm Corey Soroch. I'm the new head football coach at Farmington High. This is my first year as the head coach at Farmington High, but I've been in the program for 7 now. We were 2-7 last year, struggled a little bit. We're pretty young. We got a lot of these guys, some valuable varsity experience as young guys playing in the white last year. This year, we're going to be moving to the blue, which we embrace. We just want to compete in general. I'm going to introduce our guys, starting here with Kelvin Whitlow, number 1. He is a senior fullback, linebacker, and actually might even make the move to offensive guard for us to help the team. We have number 3 here, Oscar Glenn, returning running back and defensive back. And number 21, Kendall Williams, is also a returning running back and defensive back. These guys in camp this year and in the summer have really done a really good job of, you know, working together and continuing to build the program as it has been in the last years under Coach Bechtel. And we just look forward to get ready to go. August 24th against Berkeley. So we're excited. Everybody, good luck this year, and thanks for having us.
When you look at the Falcons last year, they allowed 347 points. That's one of the worst in the league last year. Of course, Soroch takes over. Of course, he was the defensive coordinator last year under Bechtel. So I caught up with an interview with Soroch from Farmington. So this is going to be very interesting. So I caught up with them for this interview. Hey, now we got Farmington coach Corey Soroch here, of course. Welcome to the league, of course. You're new coach here. So, you know, let's talk about it. Let's talk about, you were defensive coordinator at Farmington last year, and your defense allowed 347 points last year. Yes, it was a struggle. Explain that.
I'd say we struggled on all sides of the ball. We were really young. We had a lot of sophomores up. We played probably one of the hardest schedules in the area, I'd say. We struggled defensively. We also struggled to move the ball offensively. We struggled on special teams. I think a combination of that is why we saw so many lopsided scores. But we had a lot of young kids that we think, you know, gained a lot of valuable experience, and we hope to be a lot better this year.
Well, you got a little quarterback competition here. It looks like, of course, you got Chandler Coltrip, Caleb Muhammad. Have you settled in on a quarterback?
Caleb Muhammad no longer plays for us. We have Chandler Coltrip, who's a returning starter. He started half the year as a junior last year. We also have pulled up a sophomore named Stevie Guerrero that we hope will also contribute for us at the quarterback position.
When you look at, and of course, you look at Donovan King, of course, I heard rumor he got hurt. Is that true?
Yeah, Donovan was at a wrestling competition last month, and he unfortunately had a pretty bad leg injury. As of right now, he probably won't be playing this season, which is too bad. He's got a lot of D1 interest and a couple offers. But the good thing is he's a junior, and he will be back next year for us.
Thank you real much, Coach. Let me get as mentioned, Donovan King is out for the year with that leg injury. So that's a big loss for Farmington, of course, when you look at it from that perspective. But let's look at the Falcons' schedule. Of course, Farmington, as mentioned, they open up the year at Hurley Field against Berkeley. That's going to be a very interesting matchup. Of course, Hurley Field's no easy place to play for anybody. Of course, going there. Of course, Berkeley does have a new coach in Billy Keenis, so we'll go over them when we have the Berkeley preview. Next, they go up to Ferndale. Of course, Ferndale's an interesting matchup for the Falcons. Of course, Ferndale last year was a playoff team. Then they got to play Harper West Chandler Park. It's another matchup where I don't think Farmington's going to have a problem with there. Then they got to play Hazel Park, Pontiac. And then, of course, that game September 29th against Avondale. I think that's going to be a really interesting matchup there. And then, of course, October 6th, they play Royal Oak. And then, of course, October 13th, they play North Farmington. That's the Farmington Cup. Of course, that's going to be a very interesting match between Corey Saroch and Bob Cheza. That's going to be a very interesting match. And then, of course, they close out the year with Detroit Edison. Now, I've been hearing rumblings about Detroit Edison. They might not field the team this year, and that might be a forfeit win for them. So that's been the rumbling surrounding that. So, so for Farmington, it's a perfect opportunity for them to get back on track and to hopefully win some more games this year. Hopefully get the playoffs for the first time since 2015 and keep that tradition of making the playoffs alive. Now, last year they didn't make the playoffs. This year last year they make the playoffs. They're hoping this year to change that this upcoming season. Let's look at a team that wasn't at Media Day. It was the Ferndale Eagles. Of course, Ferndale made the playoffs for the first time since 2008. Of course, they do return their quarterback. The running back is back, of course, since those are little. But let's look at the Eagles when you look at the schedule they got to play. Of course, Eric Royal's team's going to be the schedule's much tougher than it was last year. When you look at, they do open up with Madison Heights Lampier, a team that they beat 42-7 last year. Madison Heights Lampier's got a new head coach and a lot of experience back, so it's going to be a really tough matchup for Ferndale in that one. Then they got to play Farmington. That's going to be another tough matchup. And then they got to play Avondale. So when you really look at it, and then, of course, September 15th, they got to play Birmingham Detroit Country Day. And then, of course, September 22nd, North Farmington. And that whole month of September is not going to be easy for them, of course, when you have to play those type of teams. Of course, Birmingham Detroit Country Day was a team that made the state final last year. So that's going to be a really tough matchup for Ferndale. Of course, North Farmington, of course, we know about that program. Royal Oak's an interesting one to keep an eye on. In that one, they got to play Pontiac, Hazel Park, and Dearborn Etzel Ford. Of course, Ferndale beat Etzel Ford last year to get into the playoffs. So Ferndale last year won 7 games. I think it's going to be a little bit of a challenge this year for the Eagles this year. But what's really helped Ferndale, and what people don't know, is Ferndale has a co-op program with Ferndale University. That's why they got a lot of kids. When you look at it, of course, that co-op program the MHA put together, of course, merges players within your school district. And since Ferndale University is within their school district, those two teams can merge together and form one big team. So that's why Ferndale last year, that was one of the reasons that got Ferndale in the playoffs, was because of that merging of the co-op program. So Eric Royal's got some expectations this year, hoping to get back to playoffs for a second straight year. The schedule is going to be very, very daunting, to say the least, for them. Okay, now when we come back, we're going to preview more teams here on the OAA Now Football Preview Show. Welcome back to a special OAA Now football preview show, the Blue Edition. I'm Sammy Taormina here. We're going to preview the Vikings of Hazel Park. Of course, this is a football team that has really struggled since 2012. They were 3-33 since then. Of course, last year they allowed the most points in the league last year at 378 points. So here's Coach Kyle Riley at the podium at Rochester talking about his Vikings.
All right. Cool. Alrighty, how we doing? First off, I want to thank Luke Beach. Known you for a long time. Always good seeing you. You're the man, per usual. I'm Kyle Rowley, head coach at Hazel Park. This will be my 4th year. Accompanying me up here is Logan Hamilton. He's a 3-year starter, DB, wideout. Next is Damian Ewald. He's our quarterback, another 3-year starter. We have Austin Bedner, our fullback linebacker, another 3-year starter. And Caleb Roggenbuck. He is our D-end and our offensive tackle. He is a 4-year starter. It's kind of funny because when I first started, I had like 4 seniors. And then the next year, 8 seniors. And then last year, 12 seniors. This year, 90% of my team is seniors. So it's kind of interesting. It's going to be fun. You know, I have numbers to use. We have guys who know what they're doing. And I think it's going to be a fun year. Good luck to everybody out there and have a great season. Thanks.
Now, Rowley did say Hazel Park, 90% of his team is seniors. I mean, when you look at a program that's 3-33 since 2012, you know, they have nowhere to go but up. So let's look at the schedule. Of course, it's very interesting because they open up the year with Warren Fitzgerald and Warren. Now, here's some stats here I'm going to tell you. The last 3 meetings, Hazel Park's lost 3 meetings to the East Siders. Of course, Hazel Park's on the west side of the Quinder, and Warren Fitzgerald's the east side. But last year, Hazel Park lost 65-6 to Spartans, and they've been outscored 157-18. That's not good when you look at it. So that's going to be a tough matchup for Hazel Park, going to Warren to take on the Spartans of Warren Fitzgerald. And then they got to play Avondale, which is going to be another tough matchup for them. And then they got to play Royal Oak. Then you got to play Farmington. And then they got to play Clintondale. Clintondale's an interesting match, of course. The Clintondale Dragons. It's going to be it's a unique situation for them. They got to play them. Then they got to play Pontiac. Then they got North Farmington, then Ferndale, and they close out the year with Madison Heights, Bishop Foley. So it could be a very interesting year for Hazel Park. Now, Hazel Park has not made the playoffs since 2010. So when you look at the Vikings, this is a team that, you know, has nowhere to go but up. 90% of that team is seniors. It looks like for them, it's like now or never for them this year with the bulk of their team being senior heavy. So this is going to be a very interesting year for Kyle Riley and his Vikings. So, you know, so we'll see what happens with Hazel Park. The next team we're going to preview is the Raiders of North Farmington. When you look at North Farmington, this is a team that last year had just an awful year. They were 0-9, scored 32 points, gave a ton of points, didn't have the numbers. So North Farmington head coach Todd Schultz removed himself from the head coaching role, named Bob Cheza their head coach, and you know Cheza's had a really interesting offseason. So here he is at the podium.
Hello everyone, Bob Chiesa, head football coach, North Farmington High School. First year as head coach, it's bad enough with the challenges of being a recent hire, but then to follow the living legend, John Harrington, who I've had the honor of knowing for about 25 years, is interesting enough. Last year, as we tell the young men, was a little bit challenging, but as we tell them, we don't focus on the past, we focus on the future. The exciting news is thanks to the gentleman to our left and many of their fellow teammates, we have our numbers up from 22 up to 50, and we're hoping to hit 60 on varsity this year. So exciting times ahead. Our first game is at Grand Valley State University, similar to Harrison. We're traveling to the west side and very excited about the opportunity. To my left, senior Dylan Gordon. He will be playing running back and a little bit of quarterback. Next to him is junior Justin Mays. We'll be playing O-line and some spots on the defensive side of the ball. And then Miles Gresham, sophomore, will be one of our starting tailbacks. We're expecting big things. We're going young. The future is bright. We're honored and thank the host school, Rochester. The OAA is a very good and competitive league, and look forward to seeing everybody. Stay healthy, and let's all have a good year.
as mentioned, North Farmington had a rough season last year. Of course, had 45 players and had to forfeit the Harrison game a year ago. But Chiazza said that he's very optimistic surrounding his team. When I interviewed him, he sounded very optimistic about the Raiders. We got first-year coach North Farmington, Bob Chiazza. Yep. So welcome to the league.
Thank you, sir. I'm very honored. It's a heck of a league. We have great riders, great players, great coaches. Looking forward to a good year.
Well, you look at North Farmington, of course, you were a defensive coordinator at Heartland and Waterford Mott. You've been very successful now. You've taken over a team that has really struggled last season, going 0-9. What's your thoughts about trying to forget about that, what happened last season?
Just like we telling the young men, you can't change the past. The past is the past, but we're going to learn from the past. We're very excited about the future. Our numbers are up, and we'll take each game by game, but the future is very bright for us. We have some very good upcoming players. Our numbers are going to be good. We're excited.
You open up with Greenville. It's an interesting matchup because Greenville was a playoff team last year. So talk about opening up with Greenville at Grand Valley State.
Heck of an opportunity. We're excited to be representing the OAA, North Farmington, our community, by playing in that game. Heck of an opponent, though, like you said, sir. I mean, Greenville is just a powerhouse. New head coach took over last year. He was from, I believe, East Grand Rapids before. Eddie's done a heck of a job out there. They're a force to be reckoned with. Perennial powerhouse in wrestling, too. But you know what? They got to strap it up the same way we do, and we're hoping to be competitive, and we'll see how the ball flies during that game.
Thank you, Coach.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Let's see here. Who would be a good North Farmington's a team that's going to be very interesting to keep an eye on. Of course, when you look at the numbers, he's very high on the on this Raider team. Of course, when you look at North Farmington, I'm expecting that they will have a freshman and junior varsity team as well. So numbers are going high. It's going up at North Farmington. So let's look at the schedule. Of course, as mentioned, the Raiders do open up with Greenville. Of course, the Yellow Jackets have two very good players back. We're 5-5 playoff team. It's going to be a tough matchup for North Farmington. Of course, North Farmington, very young team, as mentioned. But you know, when you have a coach like Chiazza, I think it could be a really interesting game on that night. It's a night game over there at Grand Valley. It's a 7:30 kickoff, so that's gonna be a very interesting matchup for them taking on Greenville. Then they got to play Royal Oak. I think it's gonna be another interesting matchup there. Then they got to play Pontiac. Got Avondale. That'll be a very interesting matchup there. Of course, that matchup. You know, of course, Chiazza going up against Couturier. Of course, that'll be an interesting matchup there. Then they got to play Ferndale. Then they have to play Pine Garden and Preparatory. Of course, the Irish were a very interesting team to keep an eye on. So I think it's going to be a very tough match for North Farmington going up against the Fighting Irish. Then they got to play Hazel Park. Farmington, of course, that matchup with North Farmington for the Farmington Cup, that's going to be very interesting. Of course, Farmington currently has the Farmington Cup. That's going to be a very interesting matchup. Of course, North Farmington likes to get that cup back this year. And they conclude the year October the 20th against Garden City. Of course, Garden City's really struggled the last few seasons, so I think it's a perfect opportunity for North Farmington to do very, very well and have a very special season this year. My final thoughts on the Raiders, of course, when you look at North Farmington, this is a football team I'm very optimistic on. Of course, they got the athletes to get it done. They have depth. I think when you look at it, line play's a little concern this year for the Raiders, but I think they have the right coach in Chiazza there, and I think North Farmington is going to be a really good football team to keep an eye on. So, you know, North Farmington Nation, high expectations this year for you. Now, we'll see what happens going forward with them. Okay, when we come back, we're going to preview the two final teams surrounding the Blue Division here on the OAA Now Football Preview Show.
Every 65 minutes, a military veteran dies by their own hand. Veteran suicides have risen so sharply that we're losing our nation's heroes, 22 every day. The Veterans of Foreign Wars is there to help in this epic battle of depression and post-traumatic stress. In the next hour, will you be part of the solution or part of the silence? Please log on to vfw.org/live or call 855-9-HELP-VET. The VFW, no one does more for veterans.
Welcome to a special OAA Now football preview show, the Blue Edition. I'm Sammy Taormina here. Of course, we're going to look at our final two teams before I give out my projections and the top 10 for the OAA Now rankings heading into the season. Let's go to our first team is the Phoenix and Pontiac. Of course, when you look at the Phoenix last year, they really struggled. Of course, went 0-9 last year. They're 2-43 since 2011. That was the year Brad Zuby took over that team and got them the playoffs. Now, of course, Pontiac's got their sixth coach in 6 seasons with Charles Tolley there taking over the team. Of course, let's look at Tolley's interview presser here from Rochester.
First off, I'd like to thank Rochester School for inviting us, and I hope all you guys have a good season this year. My name is Coach Charles Tolley, coach here at Pontiac High. We had a good summer. Our numbers are down, but we're still pushing through. I got a few of my players here today. Senior Romeo Chambers, he's a running back / linebacker. Dutch Blake is he's really like a utility player. He plays everything: running back, quarterback, DB, linebacker. And I got Mike King right here, and he's our middle linebacker. On behalf of Pontiac School District, I'd like to say I thank you guys for inviting us again, and hope everybody have a good season. Thank you.
Tolley's going to have a very tough task at Pontiac rebuilding that team, and it's going to be very interesting what they have this year. I caught up with Tolley talking about the future of the Phoenix. I got Pontiac coach Charles Tolley here. Of course, Pontiac, you take over a program that's really struggled, 2-43 since 2011, have not won a game since 2014. Explain having to rebuild this Pontiac program.
It's been a struggle. A lot of the kids have been leaving the district and going to other districts and playing football, and you can't get mad at them for wanting to get a better education or getting go to a better football team or whatever. But it's been a struggle. We have a good group of kids that came back and stuck with the program, and it's just been real good all summer.
When you look at the program, of course, you stress improvement. You got a very interesting schedule. Of course, you got to open up in Detroit, so that's going to be a very interesting matchup. So, talk about how hard these kids have been working to get back.
Well, when I got back initially, I had about 4 kids that were there every day in the weight room during towards the end of the school year, and that turned out to be we ended up getting about 16 kids to come out to the weight room, and we're trying to introduce my program to the junior high and the other programs as well. So they've been working hard in the weight room. They've been working hard conditioning and getting ready for this upcoming season.
Thank you real much, Coach. Thank you. Pontiac's going to be in a very interesting situation. Of course, as mentioned, they have not won a game since 2014, but I think I got a lot of optimism surrounding this Phoenix football team. When you look at the schedule, of course, they do. As mentioned, they open up with Detroit Old Redford. Detroit Old Redford's lost 5 in a row. So, I think that's a perfect opportunity for Pontiac to get the revenge of what happened last year. They lost 21-15 at Wisner Stadium to the Ravens of Detroit Old Redford. So that's going to be a really interesting match. Then they got to play the Cosmos of Hamtramck on September the 1st. And that's going to be a very interesting matchup, to say the least. I think that's another game I think Pontiac can win, when you look at that matchup with the Cosmos. And then they got to go in the league play. They got to play North Farmington, Royal Oak, Farmington, Hazel Park, Ferndale, Avondale, and then they close out the year Warren Michigan Collegiate. Of course, I think that Warren Michigan Collegiate game is going to be a very tough game for the Phoenix, as mentioned, as well as the league. So when you look at that league for Pontiac, it's going to be very tough. It's going to be a struggle. But I think when you look at that schedule, especially early on, I think Pontiac I have a lot of optimism that Pontiac can do very well, especially in that game against Detroit Old Redford Academy. I think we can go down there in Wayne County and get a win down there. If that would be a huge motivation stepper for the Phoenix, and of course for Charles Tolley to get that program in the right direction. There's nowhere to go but up for this Pontiac football program. So That's the state of the Phoenix right now. Let's go to our final team in the Blue Division. That's the Royal Oak Ravens. And, I don't know what to say about this team. 6-20 since 2015. They were 4-5 in 2016. Then in 2015. Then last year they took a step back at 2-7. So let's look at the Ravens. They got some questions everywhere. So here's Raven coach Ray McMahon at the podium.
Good afternoon. My name is Ray McMahon. I'm the head coach at Royal Oak. This will be my third season. Just like everybody else, I'm going to thank Luke and Rochester Schools for putting this on. It's a great event that definitely showcases all the great talent in this room, both as coaches and as players. And it's, as Coach Riley said, it's the greatest game that we have. Our kids here this year, we don't have a ton of returners, but they have been working hard. On our far left is our center, Dane Collins, senior, quarterback, defensive back, Carter Ellis, defensive back, wide receiver, Joe Binkowski, and defensive back, wide receiver / running back, Patrick Tesho. Like I said, our numbers may not be very big, but these kids have been working hard. This is probably the most dedicated group of seniors that we have had. They've been in the weight room since November. They've been working hard, and they have come up with their own leadership council and done their things, and we're doing what the team wants this year, and I let them lead. I have not called kids to the weight room. They've done all of that. They've taken on the role of taskmaster, if you will, and they've created practice plans. So we're really trying to make this a team-oriented, player-developed season, and we will see how it goes. Best of luck to everyone. Stay healthy.
When you look at last year, Royal Oak was not good. They allowed 225 last year, 225 points. Compared that to, they allowed that fewer than that last year in 2015. So I caught up with Ray McMahon about the state of the Ravens. I'm a little concerned about their player-led team this year. So here's my interview with Ray McMahon. I got Royal Coach Ray McMahon here. Of course, last year you lost 4 games by a combined 19 points. So talk about this team. Of course, defense took a little bit of a step back last year, allowed 225 points compared to 193 last year. So address the defense issue.
I think one of the biggest things is we played a couple of pass-happy teams, and our secondary, let guys get behind them, and once that happens, you're playing catch-up, going back and forth. You played Stockbridge, who averaged 35, 40 points a game. You played Bloomfield, so we played those teams that scored a lot. I think that hurt us. Offensively, I don't think we held on to the ball enough, so our defense was on the field more. So I think this year our goal is obviously to hold on to the ball a little bit more, try to be a little more explosive, though. We didn't have those big plays. Like you said, we lost 4 games by combined 19. So we need to finish games,
Let's talk about your first opponent, Lakeview, of course. Lakeview, we talked last year about Lakeview being a wing team. Last year you guys lost 21-0 at St. Clair Shores. Now you got them at home this year. Talk about that matchup.
St. Clair Shores Lakeview is a good team. I think some of our kids took it for granted, playing a strictly run team. We were down 14-0 3 minutes into the game. So I think mentally our kids can never come back. But you look at them, overall they averaged 38 points a game, and we held them to 21. So defensively we did a good job. We just didn't score. Being at home this year, I think, it left a sour taste in our kids' mouth. We're showing them film from last year. They don't forget what happened. So I really think that being at home, having that excitement, having that build-up from last year is something to build on, and hopefully we can, have a competitive game.
What's your expectation this year, Coach?
Honestly, this year our team has decided not to have the expectation of wins and losses, just to compete in every game and to get better every play. Last year, we talked about what we could do, what we didn't do, and this year we're just focused on get better every play. The last play's over, get better on the next play.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep. I'm a little concerned when I hear that. Of course, not going with a lot of expectations. When you look at Royal Oak, of course, as mentioned last year, we talked about the matchup with Lakeview where they lost 21-0. Let's go to the schedule. When you look at, they do have a rematch with them this year up at Royal Oak. Again, that game last year was 21-0. It was just a disaster over there in St. Clair Shores. Now, Lakeview, the Huskies, they end up making the playoffs at Royal Oak's expense, finishing 6-3. So that's going to be an interesting match for Royal Oak. Royal Oak should be motivated for that one. And they got to play North Farmington on September the 1st. I think that's going to be a really tough match for Royal Oak. Then it's Hazel Park, Pontiac, Then they got Avondale on September 22nd. Then they got to play Ferndale, then Farmington. And, of course, their 2 non-league games are going to be really interesting. Got Macomb Lutheran North, of course, they're an interesting team. And then you have Monroe Jefferson to close out the year. So when you look at that schedule for Royal Oak, I mean, it could be a challenge for them this year, but I'm a little concerned about what the expectations for them. I think they got to address a few things. You know, when you look at, of course, with last season, the expectations with Royal Oak. So I've got some concerns with the football team this year. So, you know, that's what I think on the Ravens this year. So let's look at my projections this year. As mentioned, of course, we're going to go over my projections, of course. Let's look at my projections. Of course, the Blue Division here, of course, I got Avondale the favorite at 9. I think they're going to go undefeated. I love what Ed Katerier's done with that team. I think with the full season under his belt, I think he's going to have a really, really special year. North Farmington, you know, I'm high on this team because of Bob Cheza's team. I really like how, despite the fact that they can address the lines, I think they can go into, they got a shot. I think they can go into Greenville and win that game. I really do think they have a great chance at winning that game. So I like North Farmington, you know what I mean? I think, you know, they're going to have a special year this year. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, they had the coach, they had the experience. I mean, you know, they were 0-9 last year, and if you go in there and win at least 6 or 7 games, get in the playoffs, that is a heck of an accomplishment, and I think North Farmington's going to get there. Farmington, I got them 3rd. I mean, the Donovan King injury is kind of a step back for them when you look at that team. But when you look at the Falcons, this is a team that, as mentioned, you know, down to the blue. I think it's going to help them a lot. And then, of course, we have the Ferndale Eagles. I think the Ferndale Eagles are going to have a really tough schedule. I don't know if they're going to be able to get in the playoffs at 5-4. If they do, I'd be really impressed. But I think it's going to be a tougher road for Ferndale. Royal Oak, you know, I've got a lot of concerns surrounding this football team. With them. Hazel Park, you know, yeah, 90% of them are seniors, but how will their morale be, especially after when they play a team like Warren Fitzgerald? How is their morale going to be? I'm a little concerned about the morale this year for the Vikings when you look at that. I think they're only going to win 1 game this year. And Pontiac, I got them winning 3 this year, but I don't think they're going to win a league game this year. I think it's going to be tough, but I think Charles Tolley has got that program going in the right direction when you look at the Phoenix. So, you know, and then let's go to my top 10. Of course, early on, of course, I have 1 team in the blue rank to start off the year. That's going to be Avondale. I got them 9th. I think that I'm very high on this team, very optimistic surrounding this team. They're the only team in the blue that's ranked in the preseason top 10 heading into the season. So, you know, of course, I will update these every single week, of course, after every game. So we'll see what happens going forward this year with the OAA Blue Division. Okay, now I'm going to sign off here. I'm Sammy Taormina here, previewing the OAA Blue this year. So good luck to those teams in the Blue Division, and stay healthy and enjoy the season.
OAA Now is produced at Orion Neighborhood Television, Lake Orion's community media outlet. To learn more about ONTV, visit our website at www.orionontv.org or call us at 248-393-1060.